What happens when culture goes crazy? You're seeing it happen all around us. Who would have thought that in our lifetime, rationality would be on the endangered list? Irrational thought, irrational behavior, people talking about in our culture following the science in one aspect of life, totally ignoring science in other areas of life. Does it make any sense? And the answer is no. But it's not something that's new. For the time we have together, I'd like to talk about some of the statements made in a very short book in the New Testament. It's the letter of Jude. And he makes a statement to begin with that he really wanted to write, was very diligent to write to you concerning our common salvation, verse 3. He said, that's what I wanted to do. But with culture the way that it is, I can't. I found it necessary to write to you, exhorting you to contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints. Why? Because truth is something that is being subverted, attacked, ignored. And what he writes in this short letter, there are only 25 verses in the entire letter, deals not just with what is happening on the religious front of his day, but something extends to culture in other areas as well. The letter Jude, according to scholars, was written similar probably between AD 65 and AD 68. Has some similarities with what Peter wrote in 2 Peter. I want to take a look at just a few of these verses. Down in verse number 8, he talks about individuals that really are, there's no morality at all, there's no kind of sense of right or wrong, and classifies these dreamers as those that defile the flesh, reject authority, speak evil of dignitaries. Where have we heard that? And then in verse number 10, these speak evil of whatever they do not know, whatever they know naturally, like brute beasts. In these things they corrupt themselves. Sound like today's headlines. In verse number 12, they feast with you without fear, serving only themselves. There are clouds without water, carried about by winds, late autumn trees without fruit, pulled up by the roots, raging waves of the sea, foaming up their shame, wandering stars for whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. He doesn't talk in very glowing terms about these people that have thrown rationale out the window. In fact, in verse 16 he says they are grumblers, complainers, walking according to their own lusts. They mouth great swelling words, flattering people to gain advantage. But it's really empty kind of promise. It's becoming increasingly worse in our culture, but these kind of problems have existed actually for centuries. But in our culture, they've existed at least for decades. How do you respond? What do you do? Well, the statement is made, you, to the Christians to whom he's writing. Remember the words which were spoken before by the apostles of our Lord Jesus Christ, how they told you that there would be mockers at the last time who would walk according to their own ungodly lusts. Sensual persons who cause divisions, not having the Spirit of God. But then he admonishes them, you need to be different. Don't succumb to what exists in the world around you. It's amazing, people that on one hand say we're going to follow the science, but they do that only when it's convenient to their way of thinking. And other issues in our culture, they deny science altogether. It's not a mark of intelligence. And yet these people have, in many situations, have academic degrees. It makes you wonder what they studied and where they studied. It makes you wonder why common sense has been thrown out the window. The divisiveness, the danger, the derangement, the destitution, you find all of that and more in that first century world in which Jude lives and in which he writes. Be careful. And make sure that the way that you analyze things, it's with rationale really involved, logic and consistency need to rule the day, rather than irrational, illogical kind of conclusions that are based upon presuppositions, not upon any kind of fact whatsoever. And regardless of what you may hear people say, we're kind of living in a world without fact. Because fact, truth, science, it seems to be whatever the whim of the moment may be. It's nothing like intelligent people. We need to start raising people back to a standard that they should have been relying upon all along. And hopefully, prayerfully, it's not too late. Interesting little book, 25 verses. Get a chance, read through them from beginning to end. Please stay safe. We'll talk again soon.